Hi everyone, I'm Paulette Morrissey from Tulip Square, and this week's video is puppy pockets. It's one of our patterns. It's number 609, puppy pockets, and it's little pockets that you can fill with treats. See, there's a pocket here and a pocket here and more pockets here. And this is just a fun little thing you can make for yourself. I mean, not yourself, your dogs, or any friends' dogs or family's dogs. It's just a nice little thing to make. They're quick and easy to make. They're kind of fun. If you need the pattern, it's number 609, puppy pockets. But if you watch the video, you can see that it's not absolutely necessary to have the pattern. You can kind of wing it a little bit on your own. So let's go to the sewing machine and get busy and make some puppy pockets. Okay, to start with for this project, we're going to need 2 pieces of fabric, and these are about maybe 16 inches wide, and the width of the fabric 42 inches or 40 inches, even a yard is plenty. And I just picked these 2 fabrics, and I've got a piece of batting, cotton batting, the same width. So what you do, and you don't need to see this real clear because it's pretty basic, you lay out your first fabric right side down. You're not going to be able to see this whole thing, but it's not relevant. You'll be okay. And then you lay your piece of batting down on top of it. Nice and smooth. And then you take your other fabric and lay it on top. I used a nice doggy fabric since these are for doggy treat pockets. All right, so you've got your 3 layers down, just like this. And what you do is take this over to your sewing machine and do some really simple or basic quilting. You can do meandering, you can do just little lines, whatever you want, just something to kind of get all of the layers connected together nice. So I'm going to take it over to the sewing machine and do a little bit of that, and you can watch me do a few minutes of that. Now before you start sewing all your layers together, you might want to pin it in a few spots with safety pins or some long pins with big heads. Just something to make sure you keep your layers carefully together. You don't want them to come apart or accidentally get jumbled together so you're sewing through 6 layers. But anyway, I'm just going to do some really quick, easy grid lines. And I like to use a walking foot for this, just because it helps both layers go along smoothly together. And I'm also going to use a slightly bigger stitch. And these are just going to be straight up and down, and I'll show you a few of them and then I'll go finish it. And then when you get to the bottom, you can either stop and turn the whole thing around and go back, or you can just cut it and go back to the top. Now I'm just going to cut it and go back to the top. It's a little too long to swing around. And I think I'm going to go about maybe 2 inches apart. I'm not going to measure this at all. I'm just going to kind of use this edge of my sewing machine as a guide. So whenever my next row goes right to there, and you'll find some guide on your sewing machine if you want to be accurate, but it really doesn't matter because it's just for dog toys. So I'm going to go ahead and do all the way across, and then I'm going to come back and do a grid this way. Now I've got all of the lines sewn this way. I'm just going to turn this and do just a few rows this way. And you don't have to worry about catching the very ends of your edges of your fabric, because you're going to be cutting these pieces out and you're not going to get to the edges anyway. Okay, now you can either buy the pattern or you can do this without the pattern. If you want the pattern, it's pattern number 609 called Puppy Pockets. It's a dog treat toy. So if you don't want to buy the pattern, just cut yourself out some big ovals. Now there's 2 ways of doing this. First of all, I'm going to cut these you've got to cut your pattern pieces out. I'm just going to cut these out real quick. Where I got these crazy little kid scissors from. But they work, they cut paper. Okay, now you can do one of two things. You can pin these, tape these two together, so it's all in one piece. And I'm going to work on the lighter side of the fabric. It really doesn't matter because you're not going to see it once you're done. You can pin this all together, and you can pin this pattern piece down and then cut this out and then pin it again. But what I'm just going to do is I'm just going to draw around it, and then I will just move it and draw around it again. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the pocket piece, only I'm going to need 4 pocket pieces. So I'm going to go 1 and then 2 and then 2 more on the next to it. So I'm going to put 1 down here, and the pocket piece is a little bit shorter than half of this. See? It's a little bit shorter. So I'm going to put 1 about here. Now you're just simply going to cut these out. Okay, now we have 2 big ovals and 4 pockets, half ovals kind of. All right, so next we're going to have to do some binding. What I like to do with binding is whenever I'm working on a project, I put my extra binding in one of these book boxes, and I just keep saving it. So if I ever need it for something, I've got a whole bunch of binding. And since I have an abundance of this black binding that I don't know why I made this much for something, but I can use it for that. But this is just a little thing to show you that it's nice to keep. And then if you need a little binding for something, I've got a couple boxes of them. So what you're going to do to start is you're going to take the 4 half pockets, half pieces, and just like you're binding anything else, you're going to stitch these pieces down on the back side of the pocket, and then we're going to fold it over and sew it to the right side. So I'm going to do one and show you, and then I'll do all of them, get them done. I'm going to use white thread just so it's more visible for you to see. Normally on a piece of black binding, I'd use black thread. Now we just turn these pieces to the right side and stitch them down. And like I said, you could use black thread for this, but you're not going to see the black thread, so I'm not going to do it. But you can see how I've got them all sewn down. Now we're just going to turn them to the right side and finish off this edge. Could use a zigzag stitch here too, that would work. So we've got 4 pockets with their binding on. And that's the insides of your pockets, unless you like that to be the outside, that's okay too. Okay, now next, if you don't have long enough binding, you're going to need a piece of binding long enough to go all the way around the outside edge of this whole piece. Because then what we're going to do is we're going to pin a puppy pocket here. Get this over here so you can see what I'm doing. Whoops, we don't want the one upside down. We're going to pin a puppy pocket up here, and we're going to put a pocket down here so there's a nice space in between them. Okay, so you pin that down, and then you're going to take your binding, and if you don't have any binding long enough to go all the way around, and for this one I think you need about 40 inches, stitch some binding together enough so that it will fit. And I'm going to start right down here. Get my other half out of the way. And I'm just going to do the same thing with any binding. I'm just going to sew around the edge with a 1/4 inch seam. I'm my own cameraman here, so bear with me. It gets a little thick when you're going right over all of this binding, so take your time. Now I left a good tail at the beginning, so I can work with that later. And just take your time going around the edges, the corners, which actually aren't corners, they're curves, but when I get to the spot where I'm crossing the binding, I like to back tack. Oops. Now once I get past this last curve, and I come down to where it's straight here, then I'm going to get ready to sew the 2 ends together. I'm going to cut that off. I'm going to straighten this up just a little bit more. All right, now I'm going to connect the 2 ends of the binding. So what I'm going to do is in this gap here, I want to work right about in the middle of it, which the middle of this gap is right about here. So I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to cut it at about the middle of that gap opening. And this other piece, I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to cut it so the 2 ends overlap by about a 1/2 inch. Let's see, right about there, I think that should work. So these 2 pieces overlap by about a 1/2 inch. And now I'm just going to open up both of those. I'm going to kind of, oops, here we go. I'm going to open them up. And I'm going to kind of fold the whole thing in half so that I can flatten these 2 together. And I'm just going to sew across the ends. You can pin this if it makes it easier, or you can just have a really good grip on it. And try to use a 1/4 inch seam here, just so you got it all accurate. It was a very generous 1/4 inch seam, but that's okay. Now I'm going to just finger press this little seam open. Like so, and then flatten it back down along its original line, and then I can finish this outside seam. I'm going to overlap where I stop sewing a little bit. Here, I can take these pins out. Now you can see I've got the binding sewn all the way around. And then what you're going to do is just turn it to the right side, fold it over, and stitch it down again. And this time I'm going to use a zigzag stitch so you can see how that works. And your doggies won't care what you use. Take your time around the curves, but the fabric will automatically curve nicely right around here. So it's not a problem. You can see it's curving willingly. I just overlap a few stitches at the end just to keep it secure. And there you've got 1/2 of it done. It's all stitched together on the inside, and it's got all kinds of crazy zigzag lines, but doggies don't care, so zigzag is a little more visible. Let's see, you've got 2 pockets here. And now we're going to make one more just like this, and then we'll put them together. So now that you've got both pieces done like this, so now what you do is you take the pieces, and I'm going to alternate, they're upside down, and you put them all together, pockets facing all the pockets together. So the pockets are all on the inside. I'm just going to line this up kind of nicely. And then right in this gap in the middle, where you can see where you have nothing right in here in this space, I'm going to do a couple of rows of stitching. I'm going to swing it around and go right back across that same seam. I'm going to make another one just about 1/4 or 1/2 an inch away. And your puppy pockets are all finished. You've got 4 pockets on the inside, 2 on this side, and 2 on this side. And this is all closed up when you have it like this. It's like a little wallet kind of a thing. This is a pretty fun pattern to make. It's pretty quick and easy. You don't have to use your best sewing skills for this. It's a good project to practice free motion quilting, or just kind of grid stitching, which you can see wasn't real even, but my dogs don't care. And this is perfect for, you want to keep your dogs busy with something. Fill these little pockets with some goodies. We like freeze-dried liver treats in here because they aren't messy, they don't stick or anything, and the dogs can get them out pretty easy. And it takes them a while to figure out all these different flappy layers, see, so it's kind of fun. This is also a nice thing to give as a gift if you know somebody who's got a new dog and you're going to go visit them or anything. Get them one of these, make them one of these, and bring along a little bag of treats to go with it, and they'll have fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. A little switch from making quilted things for ourselves and our houses. This is for our pets. So I hope you enjoyed that video on how to make puppy pockets. This is a pretty fun pattern to make. It's pretty quick and easy. You don't have to use your best sewing skills for this. It's a good project to practice free motion quilting, or just kind of grid stitching, which you can see wasn't real even, but my dogs don't care. And this is perfect for, you want to keep your dogs busy with something. Fill these little pockets with some goodies. We like freeze-dried liver treats in here because they aren't messy, they don't stick or anything, and the dogs can get them out pretty easy. And it takes them a while to figure out all these different flappy layers, see, so it's kind of fun. This is also a nice thing to give as a gift if you know somebody who's got a new dog and you're going to go visit them or anything. Get them one of these, make them one of these, and bring along a little bag of treats to go with it, and they'll have fun with it. So I hope you enjoyed this little video. A little switch from making quilted things for ourselves and our houses. This is for our pets. If you liked it, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and so I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. And remember, it's pattern number 609, puppy pockets. If you need to use the pattern, it's got 2 different sizes in it. Pretty straightforward, but it's got all the step-by-step instructions if that helps you. So go do some sewing and have a good day, and we'll see you next week.